Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central. Good evening. Good evening. We are here again. It's now 9 o'clock. And you know what time it is for you over there. You know what you need to do over there. Whoo-wee. Please go ahead and if you're looking on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And then go ahead and spread the word to your friends and your family. Of course, we always could use more sustaining members. By sustaining, we mean someone who donates on a recurring basis. So $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever the amount is. It starts at $5. But you can make a one-time donation or you can make a recurring donation. But those recurring donors are gold because those are the donors that help us be able to sustain our momentum. We're on a roll. We started this last year, a little bit over a year ago, and we're still rolling right on through telling stories every day, twice a day, at noon and 9, because this is Doc Ock at noon and 9. So let's go ahead and get this party started with a nice proverb today. Let's see what we got for you today. I will just open the book to the book of, where are we at? Is this Senegal? Looks like the book of Senegal. Yep, book of Senegal. Okay, here goes one here. An intelligent enemy is better than a stupid friend. Straight up. An intelligent enemy is better than a stupid friend. Well, there's something to ruminate about. An intelligent enemy is better than a stupid friend, and that is a proverb from the nation of Senegal. Now, tonight, we plan to do something a little bit different. And I just realized that the way I set it up is not going to work because I may think I'm going to have a hard time being able to read that. So we're going to be reading from this book over here. I got two books we're going to read before we get to our book on the Black Panther Party, because we're going to do this one also. But before we get to that, we're going to read this book here. It's called Unspeakable, the Tulsa Race Massacre. Usually when we hear about riots, we always think of black folks going out in the street and acting crazy. But it's not true. Riots are not exclusive to black folks or other dark-skinned peoples around the world. White folks do that too. And in this case, this one was what they call a race riot. And that's where one race pits itself against another race. So kind of like the Jews in Germany and the Nazis. Okay? Yes, kind of like that. And so, let me see. Yeah. Okay, what I do, I'm going to read the trying to decide how to get into this book. Well, I get into it this way. This book is about a place called Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, at one time, even right up to the time that Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, and even afterwards, his idea was that black folks should be free, but not in the United States. That in his mind, he didn't see that black folks and white folks could live together in the same country. That this big piece of land here was not big enough for all of us. And that the only way for us to really be able to survive and or thrive would be to leave the country and go back to Africa, basically. Well, short of doing that, another idea was put out there on the table. And that idea was that black people could have our own state. And the state that black people looked at very seriously and actually made a move on was the state of Oklahoma. Because in Oklahoma, Oklahoma was a Indian reservation. The whole state of Oklahoma was one big Indian reservation. They used to just call it Indian Territory, period. It didn't even have a name. It was just Indian Territory. And so that's how a lot of black people ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so I'm going to show you a picture here. This is how I have to do it because I haven't made pictures of this. Here's a picture here of the main street where black folks lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you can see it's kind of built up. You see cars and street lamps and fine buildings. It doesn't look like it's ramshackle or run down or anything. And so that was our neighborhood. Well, as it so happens, some people can't stand to see their neighbors do as well or better than they're doing. And they become jealous. And in terms of that, then they look for ways to try to cut that neighbor down, to bring him low, to cut him down to size, so to speak. And that's basically what happened here. Once upon a time near Tulsa, Oklahoma, oil prospectors, drilling companies struck it rich in the oil fields. The wealth created jobs, raised buildings, and attracted newcomers from far and wide, seeking fame and fortune as well as a fresh start. So you know what? I'm going to actually turn and read this book this way so you can see the pages as I read. Let me see if I can get just the right angle here on this here. Okay, how about that? Is that good? All right, try it right here. Okay, so you can at least you can kind of see the pictures. All right, so Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you see the buildings here, and then you see the oil rigs over here and oil rigs over there. Once upon a time in Tulsa, there was a community called Greenwood. Its residents descended from black Indians, from formerly enslaved people, and from people they call exodusters, who moved west in the late 1800s, fleeing the violence and racism of the segregated South. So they're talking the 1870s, the 1880s, around in that time. That's when Jim Crow first started in the South. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there was some 10,000 people living in a 35 square block area. Train tracks divided the black and the white communities. Segregation laws called for separate neighborhoods, separate schools, separate phone booths, separate railroad and streetcar coaches, separate bathrooms, separate waiting rooms at the train station, and even separate cemeteries. That's right. Even the cemeteries had to be separated. And don't think that if them white folks got to heaven, that they wouldn't be looking for a separate heaven too. Unfair test made it hard for black people to register to vote, and laws barred marriages of white folks and black folks. That was not allowed. You could marry an Indian, but you couldn't marry a white person. So many black businesses cropped up along a 1-mile stretch of Greenwood Avenue that educator and business leader Booker T. Washington called the area the Negro Wall Street of America. The name later became Black Wall Street, and the community kept thriving. Now you see too here, you can see the streets. You can't see it real clear from the where you're at, but down here on the ground where the road is, this road is all made out of bricks. So this is when they had the brick pavement instead of asphalt. Once upon a time on Black Wall Street, there were dozens of restaurants and grocery stores. There were furriers, a pool hall, a bus system, and an auto shop. Nearly 200 businesses in all. There were also several libraries, a hospital, a post office, and a separate school system where some black children got a better education than white folks. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Think about that. There were two black-owned newspapers, the Tulsa Star and the Oklahoma Sun, and over 20 churches. 15 black doctors, including Dr. A.C. Jackson, the most able black surgeon in the nation. On Detroit Avenue stood grand homes of doctors, lawyers, and prominent businessmen. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there were barber shops and beauty salons. Miss Mabel's Little Rose Beauty Salon boomed on Thursdays when maids who worked for white folks got coughed on their day off and strutted in style up and down Greenwood Avenue. The soda found at Williams Confectionery was the backdrop for scores of marriage proposals. And so here you see these black folks looking very prosperous for the time period they're living in. And there was the luxurious Stratford Hotel. At that time, it was the largest black-owned hotel in the whole USA. Black guests were welcome there, even though they were barred from Tulsa's white hotels. Once upon a time in Greenwood, there were two movie theaters, including the 800-seat black-owned Dreamland. There were even 6 privately owned airplanes. Oh yeah, these people had money. They had cash money. You hear me? But in 1929, not everyone in Tulsa was pleased with these signs of black wealth. Undeniable proof that African Americans could achieve just as much, if not more, than whites. All it took was one elevator ride. One 17-year-old white elevator operator accusing a 19-year-old black shoeshine man of assault for simmering hatred to boil over. That's all it took. That pot was already near boiling. With the accused man in jail, the white-owned Tulsa Tribune newspaper ran a headline prompting readers to nab him. Fearing this man would be lynched, killed by a mob before his trial, 30 armed black men rushed downtown to his rescue. At the jail, they faced off with 2,000 armed white folks. On May 31st, 1921, one day after Memorial Day, a holiday honoring fallen soldiers, skirmishes between the two groups left 2 black men and 10 white men dead, but the worst was yet to come. Unable to get to the jailed suspect, the white mob sparked rumors that the black community planned to attack. Unchecked, and in some cases, deputized by the police, the white mob stormed into Greenwood, looting and burning homes and businesses that black people had saved and sacrificed to build, threatening to shoot. The mob blocked firefighters from putting out the blazes. African American World War I veterans took up arms to defend their families and property, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Families fled with only what they could carry. Oh, sorry about that. Once upon a time in Greenwood, up to 300 black people, including Dr. Jackson, were killed. Hundreds more were injured. More than 8,000 people were left homeless, and hundreds of businesses and other establishments were reduced to ash. The police did nothing to protect the black community. When the National Guard arrived the next day, all that was left to do was put out fires and move thousands of black residents into camps outside of Tulsa as their community lay in ruins. Black residents had to carry passes to enter the city. There we go. I knew there was another part on there. So just like in South Africa, in the days and weeks that followed, some black Tulsans left and never returned. Others stayed and rebuilt the Greenwood community, only to witness its decline in the 1960s. For decades, survivors did not speak of the terror. 75 years passed before lawmakers launched an investigation to uncover the painful truth about the worst attack in history. Police and city officials had plotted with the white mob to destroy the nation's wealthiest black community. And that's why we want to remember the people of Tulsa and what they did there. Today, Tulsa's Reconciliation Park remembers victims of the 1921 massacre and recalls the role of African Americans in Oklahoma history. But the park is not just a bronze monument to the past, it's a place to realize the responsibility we all have to reject hatred and violence and to instead choose hope. And there we have it. I almost forgot I had that story. All right, so that was a story of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And as he says at the beginning of the book, one of the sad things about this story and other stories like it is that a lot of our elders are not sharing those stories with us. It was too painful for them to remember, and they didn't want to pass the pain on to us and traumatize us, so they don't tell us about the stories. But that's a little bit short-sighted, because if we don't know, we're destined to repeat those same stories over and over and over again. So we need to tell those stories. We need to share those stories. We need to remember and memorialize those stories. Otherwise, it will happen again. It's 9:30. Thank you very much for letting us know. All right. Now that we know what time it is, let me tell you what time it is for you. All you little children out there in La La Land, you know what you need to do. Take your little head, lay it on your little pillow, on your little bed, close those eyes, and wait for that big old sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you know that it's time for you to rise and shine. All you children of mine, you know what to do. And the adults, y'all know what to do too. But I'll repeat it again just in case you didn't hear me the first time. If you didn't hear me, listen with your ears, act with your hands, and give from your heart. What we need you to give us is a like if you're seeing us on Facebook, a thumbs up if you're seeing us on YouTube, and a recommendation to all your friends and your family to come and check out our stories, because our stories are nothing but your stories that somebody took the time to write down and put it in a book, and sometimes we may have gotten it direct, or it might be our story. So these are the kinds of stories we're telling. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon, and we're going to be continuing on reading from the autobiography of Malcolm X. We just finished chapter 1, so tomorrow we'll be starting up on chapter 2 from the autobiography. I'm not sure the name of that chapter, but I'll tell you in a minute. It's called Mascot. Well, we just finished Nightmare. I'll let you ruminate on what Mascot might be. In the meanwhile, peace out without a doubt. We'll be black tomorrow, and we'll see you then.